Waterford defeat Tipperary by 4 points at Walsh Park. Munster Hurling is back. The Hurling Championship is back. The Munster Senior Hurling Championship is well and truly underway. And Waterford deliver an almighty second half performance, really, especially in that third quarter, to in the end deliver the victory for Waterford. Fair play to Tipperary. I mean, they fought tooth and nail throughout the entirety of this game. And for me, this proves a couple of things. Number one, there is no easy game in this Munster Championship. Let's be perfectly honest. There really, really isn't. And number two, Tipperary, look, they deserve a lot of credit. And I think, they'll take a lot of confidence from this performance. Waterford, in most people's eyes, are one of the teams that most people feel could challenge Limerick for the All-Ireland or be there or thereabouts. And Tipperary very, very nearly beat Waterford today. And with a little bit more luck, with still Shamie Callan to come back in as well, I think Tipperary are still very much in the race to get out of the Munster Championship. And if there is a slip-up somewhere along the way in this Munster round robin from some of the big teams, Tipperary could very well be the team to capitalise and turn it around. But really, the big way of this game being decided was after half-time. Waterford outscoring Tipperary 2-6 to 2 points in the space of 10 minutes. They went from being down and being behind by 4 points to being up by 5 points. An extraordinary turnaround in the second half. A brilliant goal from Michael Kiley. Deise Hutchinson then doing what Deise Hutchinson does with another very well taken goal just a couple of minutes later. And Waterford really from there, look, I'd say a little bit after that, their intensity dropped. They couldn't keep up that same level of performance that they started off the second half with. But they had Tipperary at arm's length, and they just about had enough in the end to see off the victory. Tipperary obviously getting that brilliant goal as well from Mark Keogh, obviously in the first half, and then again in the second half. 2 goals in total from Mark Keogh in this one. And you felt like maybe Tipperary could potentially sneak something out of it. But with Waterford and with some of the players they were able to bring off the bench, obviously bringing Gleeson, and Jamie Barron off, or bringing them on at halftime, I should say. Peter Hogan coming on late on as well. They just had a little bit more for me than Tipperary, and I think that was probably one of the big differences that got Waterford over the line. But look, speaking about the first half, you got to give Tipperary a lot of credit. I thought defensively, they've done an extraordinary job. Let's not forget this Waterford side have scored 22 goals in their last 7 coming into this game. And I don't even think they had any goal chances at all in the first half. And that was credit to Tipperary and credit to the work that they had done defensively. The likes of James Quigley and Cathal Barra, I thought, done a tremendous job in that full-back line for Tipperary. Barry Heffernan was doing so much work in and around the middle, but also supporting the defence as well. And Tipperary were getting large numbers back in defence when Waterford attacked. And you would normally see with Waterford, they'll have those overlapping runs from the likes of Jack Prendergast, Neil Montgomery as well, who will sort of get into that extra, that sort of forward space. But Tipperary were doing a great job at cutting off those sort of passing lanes for Waterford to play into the space in the first half. And I think Waterford, for whatever reason, they struggled with their own puckouts as well. It just wasn't quite there. You always felt like they had another gear to go up on. And, having started the game very, very well, scoring the opening first 4 points of the game, you felt like, Waterford were going to kick on from there. But they seemed to struggle quite a bit. And you have to give credit to Tipperary. As I said, defensively, absolutely brilliant. Great around the middle. Noel McGrath was doing a lot of great things in this game as well. And you certainly felt like for Waterford, it just wasn't quite working. Deise Hutchinson wasn't really in the game in the first half, in my opinion. They definitely needed a bit of spark going into the second half. They needed to wake up. But the thing is with Waterford, even though they were 4 points behind, I never doubted that they wouldn't turn this one around, because Liam Cahill's going to be going absolutely mental in that dressing room to those lads. He's going to get them going. He's going to get them up for it. And they're going to have what it takes to, spark a bit of a comeback and really go at Tipperary, especially with the home crowd behind them as well. And that was exactly what they did. A couple of points, straight off at the start of the second half. And obviously Michael Kiley or Austin Gleeson gets the first point of the second half. Michael Kiley follows it up with a goal. Jamie Barron then gets himself a point as well. The substitutes making a big, big impact indeed for this Waterford side. And Corrick Daly, who has got a lot of praise throughout the league, probably did struggle a little bit in the first half. Probably the right decision in the end to take him off. Stephen Bennett with a point, and then, Deise Hutchinson obviously gets that brilliantly taken goal as well. And Tipperary, for the first time in the game, undone defensively at the back. And it's kind of crazy when you come up against, a team as good as Waterford. You're talking about 1-2 mistakes and you could get punished. And I think that's all that Tipperary done. I don't think Tipperary were bad in this game, but Waterford were just, electric really at that start, that second half. And, outscoring Tipp 2-6 to 2 points. It was always going to be tough to come back in the game. And, Waterford went from, really in the blink of an eye, they went from 4 points down to 5 points up. And you were sort of looking at it and thinking, how on earth have they turned it around as quickly as they did? But you got to give them credit. And you got to give Liam Cahill credit as well for getting a tune out of these Waterford lads and in the second half, because we know the quality of Waterford, we know what they possess, and we know that they will surely be thereabouts in Munster and in the All-Ireland series, in my opinion. They do have a lot to work on, make no mistake about it. A few defensive issues in there today, and it wasn't as fluent going forward as what we've seen throughout the league. But I do think the main thing that Liam Cahill will take from this is, that test of character. They were 4 points down at home against Tipperary. A lot on the line and pressure on Waterford. Big pressure on Waterford going into this game, and not really that much pressure on Tipperary in terms of, no one's really expecting much from Tipperary in this Munster Championship, at least outside of Tipperary. I'm sure Tipperary fans are expecting quite a bit because they are, a big hurling county. Make no mistake about it. But, Waterford stood up in the second half and they delivered it, even when the going did get tough in the second half. When Mark Keogh obviously gets that goal sort of in the closing stages, you could say in the 57th minute. Waterford, they just about done enough, and a couple of frees from Austin Gleeson, obviously one from the sideline as well, a sideline cut as well, obviously not a free but sideline cut, brilliant point from him as well. Shane McNulty, I mean, what a I think I heard he hadn't scored in the championship before today. He scored 2 points today, so he was excellent from a Waterford perspective. Just run through some of the scores then in total before we wrap up. Michael Kiley with a goal, Stephen Bennett with 10 points, Deise Hutchinson with 1-3, Patrick Curran with 4 points, Jack Prendergast with a point in there as well, and Jamie Barron and Austin Gleeson, who came off the bench, both finished with 2 points for Tipperary. Jake Morris with 2 points, Jason Ford with 4 points, Mark Keogh with 2 goals in there, Mike Breen with 2 points, Noel McGrath with 6, Conor Bowe with a point, Barry Heffernan with a point, Brian Hogan getting on the score sheet as well, and Dan McCormick and Connor Stakelum contributing, coming off the bench for Tipperary as well. Let me know your man of the match in the comments down below. I thought Austin Gleeson made a huge impact coming off the bench. It's a tough one, really. I think Shane McNulty, I think he was brilliant, wasn't he? 2 points, absolutely brilliant for Waterford. So I think I'd probably give it to him, to be perfectly honest. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below as always. Subscribe if you're new, like the video as always, and stay tuned for the Cork and Limerick match reaction, which will be out later, and we'll also be doing a reaction after Sligo and New York for later on in today's football. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you all later.